NASCAR is a unique sport when it comes to its schedule and its venues. During a typical season, they will visit 25 plus unique tracks to make up their marathon of a season. There have been tracks on the schedule from the beginning. Tracks that have held their first cup races in the last couple of years, tracks that once held races and are now abandoned, world-renowned tracks, and everything in between. Hi, I'm your host Matt, and this is NASCAR Track History, presented by Dogleg Media. In this series, we look to tell the stories of each of those tracks. We explore a wide range of topics in respect to the track, when and why it was built, track records, drivers who got their first career wins at the track, memorable moments from you the fans, and much more. We go in alphabetical order, and today we explore all that Atlanta Motor Speedway has to offer. But with that out of the way, let's dive into some more NASCAR track history. Atlanta Motor Speedway has an incredibly interesting history. It would hold the season finale for many years, and it's also seen a number of different configurations. Let's dive into the origins of Atlanta Motor Speedway. The track was built in 1960. It's got 125,000 grandstand capacity, and fun fact, when the track is at capacity, Hampton, Georgia, the small town where the track is located, becomes the 5th largest city in the state. The track is a 1.54 mile quad oval, and it's had 48 different winners in its history. The track would draw inspiration from Darlington and Daytona, with the project breaking ground in 1958. Originally, the track was supposed to be complete in the fall of 1959, but bad weather coupled with financial struggles would delay the process. When the track would eventually open, it was compared to a county fair in the boondocks. The track wasn't complete, the grandstands weren't complete, there was dirt everywhere, and yet they still would hold their first race, the Dixie 300, on July 31st, 1960. 25,000 fans would show up for the inaugural race at the track, and that number would grow every year after. And does anybody remember Kentucky's debut in the Cup Series? All those traffic issues? Well, it was the same story for Atlanta when they would open their doors. As a matter of fact, Bill France Sr., the founder of our great sport, would get stuck in this race traffic, and he would eventually get out to help direct that traffic. Local police didn't cooperate with NASCAR at first. They didn't like the idea of racing on Sunday, as it interfered with church attendance. They thought the track was the work of the devil. And no, I'm not making this up. The final budget for the track would be $1.8 million, which adjusted for inflation, that's $19 million today. Much like Daytona, this sounds like an absolute steal. The Cup Series would cap its season at Atlanta from 1987 to 2000, and would have some incredible moments at the track because of that, many of which we will cover later in the episode. The origins of Atlanta Motor Speedway are unique, and the rest of its story is history rich, so let's dig deeper. Now let's talk about the 3 different configurations that Atlanta Motor Speedway has had in its time. We'll start this out with the original configuration. The original configuration would be the one with the longest history, as it would run from 1960 to 1997. It would be a 1.522 mile oval that was much more akin to Dover, with 24 degrees of banking in the turns, with 5 degrees in the straights. It was a totally different look than the Atlanta Motor Speedway we know today, as it would have a major reconfiguration after March of 1997. The first major reconfiguration would happen in 1997, as the track would essentially be rebuilt entirely. The front and back stretch were swapped, and to liken it to other intermediates on the schedule, it would be transformed into a quad oval, extending the length slightly as well to its current 1.54 mile length. This change would make Atlanta one of the fastest tracks on the circuit, with average qualifying speeds of 193 miles per hour and a record speed of 197. I always remembered Atlanta being fast, and it's what made the track one of my favorites. And then we move to the current configuration. This was a super innovative redesign, one that has resulted in some of the best racing we've seen to date. While many fans and drivers alike were upset with this change, as they had grown accustomed to the track's worn surface, NASCAR felt that it was time for a change. They would keep the length and the shape of the track the same, but would change the banking in the corners to 28 degrees as opposed to the 24 from the previous configuration. They would also narrow the turns from 55 feet wide to 40 feet wide. The result would be super speedway type racing on an intermediate track. And as such, NASCAR would use the super speedway package for this new configuration. To date, it is the most steeply banked intermediate track in America right now. This configuration has hosted 4 races at the time of this recording, and the summer 2022 race was shaping up to be one of the best of the season before rain would end the party short. Let me know down below your thoughts on the current configuration, as well as which one of these configurations was your favorite for the track. And we covered first-time winners for Daytona in the first episode, and there were a bunch of them. We're going to cover them for Atlanta too, and not surprisingly, there are nowhere near as many. So let's dive in. The first on our list of first-time winners would be Bobby Johns. He would win the second ever race at Atlanta Motor Speedway in 1960. Johns would be a 2-time winner in the Cup Series, where he would make 141 starts. In the very next season, we would see another driver grab their first career win at the track, with Bob Burdick winning his first in 1961. Burdick would only make 15 starts in his career, and this win at Atlanta would be his only win. It would be a few years before we would see another first-time winner at Atlanta. Jim Hurtubise would win his only career race at Atlanta in 1966, making 36 total starts in his time in the Cup Series. And after Jim's win in 1966, it would be a long time before another driver would get their first win at Atlanta. Jerry Nadeau would get his only career win at the season-ending race of 2000, driving the 25 car for Rick Hendrick. And we all remember this one. It will have a much bigger mention for memorable moments later on, but Kevin Harvick would get the first of many career wins at Atlanta. I won't spoil the moment here, just know that there is a lot to unpack for this one. And the last driver to get their first win at the Hampton, Georgia Quad Oval would be Carl Edwards. This would be another incredible finish for a driver's first win at the track. Edwards would edge out Jimmy Johnson in a photo finish for his first win. And it would also be the first time we would see the iconic Cousin Carl backflip. And now let's go over some track records. First up would be the first to win at the track. And we talked about the challenges Atlanta Motor Speedway would have in its first race, but the driver who navigated all the troubles and ended up in victory lane would be a Hall of Famer, Fireball Roberts. Getting a win at any track's inaugural running is big, and for it to be at a track with as much history as Atlanta is even better. Fireball would be greeted by a happy crew and won Miss Georgia in victory lane. And then we go to the most wins. The driver who made the track their playground would be the Intimidator himself, Dale Earnhardt. Dale would win 9 times at the track, with his second to last win of his career coming there in 2000. This race will appear as a memorable moment a little later on as well. And then we go to the most poles. We actually have a tie when it comes to most poles earned at the track. Buddy Baker would hold the record for quite some time, being the first to hit 7 poles at the Speedway. Rocket Man Ryan Newman would hit the scene in the early 2000s though, and would tie Baker's mark of 7 at the track. Ryan Newman had a knack for qualifying up front, sitting 9th all time with 51 pole positions earned in his career. And then we go to the fastest qualifying lap. The fastest lap for the Cup Series was set in 1997. Geoff Bodine would lay down a blistering fast lap. Crossing the line at 197.47 miles per hour, he would put together a record-setting 28.074 second lap. This would be the first ever race on the new quad oval configuration, setting the tone for just how fast this new layout would be. And then we go to the closest finish. This moment will be featured in 3 different areas of today's video, with us doing a deep dive in the memorable moments portion. We know that Kevin Harvick would get his first win at the track. And now we know that it was also the closest finish at the track, beating Jeff Gordon by a margin of 6/1000ths of a second in 2001. This is good enough for 7th all-time closest finish in the Cup Series. In memorable moments, we finish off this story with the gravity and the impact this moment had. I guarantee I've missed some pretty cool records here. Y'all know the drill though. Let me know what I missed down below. And then we move on to memorable moments. There are some incredible moments to happen at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And you guys came out in full force to suggest some of the truly remarkable moments at the track. Thank you guys so much. I wish I could get to everyone's mentions. If I didn't get yours this week, let me know down below and I'll do my best to get you in next week's installment. Dice, Impact, Luna, Danny, NASCAR Kid Zachary, and User all suggested Kevin Harvick's first win in 2001. The most heavily suggested mention in the history of the channel, and for good reason. The stage was set for greatness. Kevin Harvick was in his 3rd race in a rebranded 29 car, filling the biggest shoes in the sport after Dale Earnhardt's tragic passing at the 2001 Daytona 500. Harvick was thrown into this situation, and it was a less than ideal one at that. Kevin would be in a battle with 3-time champion Jeff Gordon on the final lap, and after a photo finish, the closer would come out victorious in what was previously mentioned as the closest finish at the track. The victory lap that ensued after, with Harvick holding up 3 fingers in remembrance of Earnhardt, was touching and chilling at the same time. This is easily one of the best moments in NASCAR history, a true tragedy to triumph story. And then Nicole, Regera, and Luna all suggested the 1992 Hooters 500. This is a massive moment for so many different reasons. It is widely considered the greatest finale to a season ever. For starters, this championship battle was insane. Entering the race, 6 different drivers had a shot to win the title. Davey Allison would enter the race the points leader with a 30-point lead over second place Alan Kulwicki. Allison would have troubles in the race and would end up finishing 27th, leading to him finishing 3rd in the overall final standings. The battle was then on between Bill Elliott and Alan Kulwicki for the championship. Elliott would go on to win the race, with Kulwicki finishing 2nd. Alan would lead one more lap than Elliott though in the race, securing the 5 additional bonus points for leading the most laps, allowing him to maintain his 10-point cushion to win the title. With this championship win, he would become the first owner-driver since Lee Petty to win the championship. And when you throw in the fact that this was Richard Petty's last race and Jeff Gordon's first race, this is such a history-rich moment. A great mention for sure. Then Nicole, 3D World, Dice, Casey, and Chili from Discord suggested Carl Edwards dumping Brad Keselowski in 2010. This was a wild and scary moment. A pretty delayed payback for what happened at the end of the 2009 Spring Talladega race, where Brad Keselowski would turn Edwards to get his first career win. Edwards would spin Brad at Atlanta on the front stretch at over 190 miles per hour. This would cause Keselowski to go airborne and hit the catch fence in a very similar way that Edwards would flip at Talladega the year before. NASCAR would ultimately call Edwards to the garage, ending his day, and for good reason. It could have been a lot worse, and I'm glad that Brad was alright afterwards, but it was still an absolutely insane moment for sure. Then Robert, Tony, and Dice suggested the 2000 spring race, where Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Labonte would duel for the win. Earnhardt would come out victorious in the photo finish, with this being his 9th and final win at the track. It would also be the second to last career win for Dale. And finally, Dice, Christopher, and Mark all suggested Chase Elliott's win at the new configuration in 2022. This would be the first win for Chase Elliott at his home state track, and it was a somewhat controversial finish. Elliott would throw a pretty aggressive block on a charging Corey Lajoie, who was going for his first career win. This block would put Corey in the wall, bringing out the caution that ultimately led to Elliott winning the race. The folks at the Dawsonville pool room sounded the siren for the hometown hero that day, and it was still a pretty awesome moment. I just want to say, you guys killed it with honorable mentions this time. Can't wait to see what you have for next week's episode. And that'll do it for Atlanta Motor Speedway. I had a lot of fun researching this one, and really diving into the 1992 season finale was incredible. And as always, I'm prone to forgetting drivers or stats. Let me know anything I may have missed for this one in the comments section down below. We will be back next time with the history of Bristol Motor Speedway. Be sure to let me know your memorable moments for that one, and there should be a bunch of them. After all, it's Bristol, baby! And if you like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. It helps a ton and I definitely appreciate it. And did you know that 72% of my viewers aren't subscribed, but they are returning viewers? If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? If you haven't seen the Daytona video, the track history playlist will be linked below. Be sure to check it out. Head on over to the community tab of the channel as well. We do cool little giveaways like autographed merch and other goodies, as well as post updates and polls for the channel. You don't want to miss it. We also have a Discord server. Check out the About section of the channel or the description below for that invite to join us over there for even more fun and learning. But that'll do it for us here at Dogleg Media. I'm Matt, your host, and you've been watching NASCAR Track History. I'll see you next time.